Yo, what's good? Welcome to the channel. Today, Daryl Morey had an interview, and I'm going to be just going over the quotes that he had. He talked about James Harden. He talked about Embiid. So let's get into it. I'm going to read his quotes line for line, so keep up with me. I'm probably going to add it on the screen while I talk about it. So this is what he says. Well, I think James Harden is a very good player right now. Unfortunately, he does prefer to be somewhere else. I have a long relationship with him, so I'm attempting to honor his wish. But the reality is, if we do look at a trade, it's going to be for one of two things. It's either going to be for a player who continues to help us win, or getting a trade package that includes draft picks or things like that, so we can turn that into a player who can help Joel Embiid. But if we don't get either a good player or something that we can turn into a good player, then we're just not going to do it. And if James were to turn his mind around, we would be thrilled. I'm not going to lie, that's kind of scary because I don't want to deal with another situation where we go into the season with a player who literally is going to sit out, and that's the thing that's going to suck. I also don't want to see James Harden bring in the fat suit because that's going to drastically put his trade value down. No one who's going to want a guy who's fat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm going to go to the next quote. So here's the next quote. Daryl Morey talks about how James Harden played throughout the regular season and the playoffs, so here we go. He won Game 1 and 4 for us. Obviously, he had some rough games, but he did lead the league in assists. I mean, the fact that he modified his game that much is very impressive. But look, we have some players that are a little bit hard to play with. I think James is a little bit hard to play with at times. I think Joel is a little bit hard to play with at times. That's pretty interesting. Both these guys are such dominant forces that they can be a little challenging for other players to play off. Tobias Harris is another guy who can step up at key moments. It's one of the reasons why we do really well. I think we had a tremendous record when James Harden was out or Joel was out last year. And then the rest of the quote, he just talks about our depth and our bench and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He talks about how James Harden and Embiid are both hard to play with. I would say Harden is probably more hard to play with because he's more ball dominant. I'm pretty sure he led the league in dribbles, and you know what I mean. So that's hard to play with, especially when you have a dominant big man who's an MVP caliber player. I feel like Embiid would work better with more of a pass first guard, like a TJ McConnell if you bring him back, but that's never going to happen. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. So here are Daryl Morey's comments towards Embiid's comments in the interview. In the interview, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about when Embiid said, I want to win a championship, whether it's in Philly or somewhere else. So this is Daryl Morey talking about it. He made those comments a bunch of days ago. They just had sort of a semi-private event. They just got published. And look, part of it was I spoke to him at length yesterday. I spoke to Coach Nurse yesterday. He's very excited about Coach Nurse's game plan to do some innovative things for training camp that Joel is excited about. He and I spoke, but part of it, just at the end of the day, he's talking about the business of the NBA. In his mind, he wants to win here. He wants to win in Philly. That's the only place he wants to win. He absolutely was sort of referencing the fact that it's not totally in his control where he is at all times, which is it's understandable, but at the end of the day, you can't really say those things because it's going to get taken out of context, And those were probably the most important quotes. He also talks about Tyrese Maxey and extending his contract. He's basically saying it's guaranteed, I mean, everyone knows we're going to re-sign him. There's no way we don't. He also talked about our playoff failures and how we're going to get past that. I mean, there's no way he doesn't really know the answer to that, It's more of a Nick Nurse question, but, he trusts Nick Nurse's coaching, and he talks about, I live in Center City in Philly, so I know what the fans are going through. I'm a fan as well. So, he was just talking about that, trying to, comfort the fans. But the thing is, Daryl Morey did make it seem like it's almost certain that he's going to trade James Harden, Us fans have been hearing back and forth, oh, James Harden wants to be back, or we want Harden to stay, or we want to trade, it's back and forth, all contradictions. But he did say, at this point, it does sound like he's going to trade him. And my 2 cents, I want Zach LaVine in a 3 trade if you can do that as possible. But if not, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Rocco, and throw in a first round pick. That's a decent trade. I'd rather get something than nothing. So it comes down to that point, and we'll see what Morey does. I'm excited. Everyone look out. I'll catch y'all. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll see y'all.